And welcome back to the 10 a.m. shift. I'm your host, Willis Love. And this guy that I have to the right of me, this guy, I've been trying to sit down and talk with for months. This guy, to me, is one of the most influential podcasters that I've ever met in person. Gave me a lot of advice. And, when you say something like MJ, people think of Michael Jordan, right? You say MJ, they think of Michael Jackson, right? You say MBJ, they think of Michael B. Jordan. But I'm talking about the legendary Bronx native, Philly grew up, Miles Johnson. Clap it up. Miles Johnson's in the building. My guy's in the building. What's up, bro? How you feeling, man?
Willis, it's a pleasure to be on 10 a.m. shift. And from going to the gym and you see you there and our talks there and talking hoops there, I was like, no, I gotta hop on. So no, it's a pleasure.
Man, it's so good to have you on the show, bro, because I feel like when I see you in the gym, I don't have enough time to really pick your brain the way I want to. Because I have so many questions, especially as an up and coming podcaster. I'm like, how did you build all this stuff? So, just like take me back to the beginning, bro. Like, because you says you was born in the Bronx, you was raised in Philly. Like, what was that like being from two different boroughs, cities, states? Like, what is it like? And then, like, how did you even get into this industry?
Yeah. So my dad's a pastor, so we moved 3 times when I was younger. So I was born in Cleveland, then we moved to New York when I was like 1. So like I was like real young. We were in the Bronx, then moved to Yonkers when I was like 3. And then by the time I was 6, moved to Philly. So I always say like, all right, yeah, I was born in Cleveland, New York when I was like an infant and toddler. And then Philly when I was 6 going to first grade. But Philly is really what I remember and like what I really know. So that's what I claim. But like, I just always loved sports. I always loved to talk. I feel like I know we'll talk about it later on, but just having two parents that have a dad who's a pastor, like I said, and my mom who's a lawyer, I kind of felt like it was in my blood to speak. I didn't know really what it was going to be. I knew that I love sports. I knew that I love sports debate. There was certain guys on TV that I looked up to and said, "Oh, they can just have this barbershop talk and talk about that as their full time job."
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. I ended up learning later on that a lot of these guys that are on TV, the Stephen A. Smiths, the Chris Broussards, the Rob Parkers, all the black and white journalists, all of them mostly started off as print journalists and they worked their way up to be on air, but it was through their writing. So my dad being a pastor, like wherever he was called to preach, that's where we were going. And really just having two parents as well that, spoke every day. My mom's a lawyer, my dad's a pastor, and like just
Wow, it's
having
beautiful.
them be so influential in my life, and also just speak every day that inherently influenced me to say, all right, I don't know what I'm gonna do in my life, but it's got to be something around speaking. And I grew up playing soccer. That was like my first love in terms of sports. And once I got to high school, I just fell in love with sports debate and started to learn journalism and go to school for journalism after that to achieve that dream.
Wow. So what was that exact moment when you was like, nah, like I gotta do this professionally? Like, what was that exact moment for you?
I'd probably say when I was able to shadow Chris Haynes, who was a sports reporter for TNT, Sports
Mhm.
Insider, and he was real close with a lot of players. And he still is now. I think he does stuff with NBA on Prime and all that stuff now. And I was able to shadow him during the Hawks Heat game on MLK Day in 2023. And
Mhm.
now
Wow.
the whole background on this was went to Morehouse College, and I was a senior at Morehouse College, and a alum of Morehouse was a producer on TNT. He called me up about this potential opportunity and said, "Hey, got an opportunity that you could meet Chris Haynes, you could shadow him, and you could interview the Hawks head coach after the third quarter." So of course I was like, I was in Philly. It was winter break. I was like,
Mhm.
I'll come early. Like it don't matter. Like I'll be there. And that was a moment where being able to talk to certain players, see Chris Haynes, in his flow, talking to GMs, getting his sources, and that whole process, I was like, this is pretty cool. And I was already on track to I feel like pursuing that dream, but kind of having certain opportunities that put you in spaces that you're the youngest in the room, or you're just looking up to people that you've always watched like your whole entire life. It motivates you even more to say, well, okay, this was a good one-time thing. I'm trying to make this an everyday thing.
Mhm. For sure. So I read online that you had a stutter, right? Growing up. How did that affect you from like being a podcast person or sports media? Like what was your mindset like going in like, dang, I have a stutter. How can I do this? Like what were you thinking?
Yeah, like it was something I definitely struggle with. And I still have a stutter like every day. I noticed that whenever there's like a mic in front of me, or like a camera, for some reason, it's God's will. Like I just don't stutter, and
Mhm.
I think I trace it back to when I'm in church. When I was in church, so I still am. But when like I was younger, my dad he would have me or my younger sisters do the welcome or do the prayer, and
Mhm.
I used to hate it, and it used to be very dreadful because I was so worried about I don't want to stutter in front of a congregation of hundreds of people
Right.
and be embarrassed, like how I get embarrassed all the time during school throughout the week and the constant bullying and all that stuff. But my parents still made me do it. And then it would be like I would be so anxious to go up on stage to the pulpit and speak.
Mhm.
And then after I'm done, that then went crazy wrong. Like I might have one or two or three times my stutter, but for the most time, like people understood what I was saying. My
Mhm.
message came across. After I stopped talking, people clapped. So like I was able to communicate effectively. And so being in that type of environment to where even though I had a stutter, my parents weren't like, well, we're not, we're gonna shy you away from certain opportunities. No, they pushed me more to be uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
back to the podcast space, it was like whenever I had a mic in front of me or a camera in front of me, I just let loose. And I really only stutter if it's like one on one.
Mhm.
Now, but I find it as I used to think of it as an anger that holds me back. I went to a stuttering camp and met other people that have a stutter, and
Wow.
I really began to realize, all right, I'm using this as an anchor that could hold me back, but I should use it as a springboard that propels me forward. And so when
Mhm.
I had that certain shift, then it was like all it comes with confidence and just being able to let loose there. So I got to Morehouse, and as I mentioned, like high school, middle school, like elementary, like the bullying was nonstop. And I'm 24 years old. I still have resentment towards those people. And I'm not afraid to say, like, part of the reason why I work so hard is to let those people like eat dirt. Some of it is for
Mhm.
a lot of it is for myself, but um, when you have so many times, so many memories where you're just in the bed crying, you wake up, you crying because people are just constantly talking about, well, you can't say your M's, you can't say your own name. When you get older and those same people want to say, oh, the podcast is great. No, you're gonna have that same resentment. So
Have that same
um,
energy.
have that
I
same
agree.
exact. It's kind of like when Michael B. Jordan, somebody was like making fun of him, and then like they
Mhm.
like interviewed him, and he said, "Oh, you was the one." Like it's still like, all right, I'm gonna always remember, but
Yeah, that's when she said he was the corny kid in class. I seen
yeah,
that. Have that same
exactly.
energy.
So like
Mhm.
that type of feeling, like when Michael B. Jordan like said that, it's like sometimes you gotta just pop it and let them know. And so uh but I'm so grateful that God gave me a stutter because it allowed me to be a better listener and to also be more hardworking because I knew that I gotta be super prepared. Uh I have to still work on my speech. Like, even though I don't stutter, while I'm speaking in front of a camera or a mic, sometimes your delivery is still a practice. Like, it's still you.
Yeah.
You know, you in the gym, you getting your shots up. It's the same exact thing. You're looking at Stephen A. Smith, the amount of hours that he's put in to be the orator that he is. Like, it takes time. So, all of that played a role. And I'm so grateful that I have it, because it kind of lit a fire under me that I don't know I would have had if I didn't have one.
Yeah. That's, you know what, bro? Honestly, I didn't even know you had a stutter until I read that. And I was like, what? He ain't stutter not once when I talked to him. So that's really impressive. So, like, what would you say to like a young kid who's growing up right now, who wants to do sports media, who wants to be a podcaster, but they have a stutter? Like, how would you encourage them to keep going?
Yeah, I would say just continue to be yourself. I think a lot of times with social media, folks trying to be somebody that they're not. I I thought to myself going into college that it was going to be very, very similar to high school, to where if I stuttered, people were going to make fun of me. Actually, nobody in college said a word about me stuttering. Not one time. I've stuttered a bunch of times in college, one on one with people, with girls, with my homeboys, whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
Nobody
Hmm.
said anything. And so that was a situation where, as long as I was true to myself and I was just being who I am, Miles Johnson, I found my crowd. I found the people that I enjoyed, and ended up joining that fraternity and Omega Psi Phi, and like got a bunch of brothers there, and just didn't let it stop me. So I would say be true to yourself and don't let it stop you. Like, if you have a dream, a goal, like, it should never be a stutter. Like, it can
Hmm.
never stop you from like doing that. Like, if you put your mind to it, and you can definitely do it. But also, I say give grace and patience to yourself, because it's gonna be times
Absolutely.
where folks making fun of you, or you're ordering food and you don't want to say vanilla donut because you stutter on V's, and so you
Hmm.
say chocolate donut. And I heard stories about that, of like people that like they would order the wrong order for
Wow.
years because they did not want to stutter on something in front of the waiter, and maybe they have like a date or with a homeboy or something like that. And so it's being true to yourself, being confident, and everything else is gonna flow from there.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible, bro. Like, honestly, man, that's super inspiring to hear. I had a cousin who had a really bad stutter, and he doesn't stutter anymore. So, like, to see you guys just like persevere and push through, and like actually be in the field you want to be in because you embrace that, is like, can't even like put to words what that means to somebody who's young and who has a stutter. So, like, I'm glad you're showing that that shouldn't hold you back from what you're trying to do with your life. But
Hmm.
you spoke about college, Morehouse, and things like that. I'm wondering, like, when you was in school, right, and you were thinking about doing sports media, like, who was some of the people you watched? Like, who were you studying?
Yeah, definitely like Stephen A. Smith for sure. Earliest memories is watching First Take and seeing him. I think he's a he does a phenomenal job by, not only is his delivery always on point, but he entertains people. Now, the entertainment, that's how you get paid in the business. That's how, if you're able to make people laugh. I think about Stephen A. Smith when he said Kwame Brown, something like blah, 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 he was on crack, something like that little crack line, like different punchlines that like it goes back to you as a journalist thinking about, all right, what's my intro to my story that's gonna grab the people in. And a lot of times it's that intro, it's entertain people that's gonna, really put you over the top. So Stephen A. Smith for sure. Chris Broussard is another guy that I saw his interview with Paul Pierce after Paul Pierce hit the game winner on the Wizards. He wasn't on the Celtics anymore. He was on the Wizards.
Yeah,
And
that's
he asked
the
Paul,
end of the road, Paul Pierce.
he said, "Did you call bank?" And Paul Pierce said, "I called game." And that was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool to me. Rob Parker's another one that he's been like a great mentor to me and somebody that he was on First Take, he was on Undisputed, he's on Fox Radio right now, and those are a couple of guys. Michael Wilbon's another one that was at the Washington Post for a long time. Graduated from Northwestern, um, graduate school for journalism, I believe, or at least went there for undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's somebody that had that transition from print journalism to on air. So yeah, those are several guys. And even like now, I look at guys like Bill Simmons, Colin Cowherd, that Bill Simmons created The Ringer. It sold for
Mm-hmm.
Spotify for like 100 mil. Colin Cowherd created the volume. And he's still working at Fox Sports. So uh, being able to not only be the on-air talent, I think that's something I would love to do, and definitely striving for that. But the bigger thing is, creating your own business, creating a legacy to where you can put people on that, frankly, look like you or don't have the same privileges as other people. Put them on. But it's like so important to just have ownership of your own thing. So as I've gotten older, it's gone past just, well, should I want to be on ESPN? I want to be on Fox Sports. I want to be on, Netflix, whatever the case may, all the other platforms. It was more about, okay, how can I leverage my brand to keep my ownership while also being on there as well.
Yeah, I seen that actually. I seen you say that you didn't want to wait to get on a big network. You wanted to create your own opportunity. So what kind of mindset do you need to have to even go into something like that?
It's two things: consistency and creativity. Like if you got both of them, there's no way you lose, because if you're consistent, you're always showing up. It's kind of like in corporate life when they say just show up. So just post your content. If you're not showing up to somebody else is. If you're not posting your content, somebody else is. So that's half the battle right there. You gotta post the content. I know so many times that I've thought of something, I didn't get to it as fast enough, and then boom, somebody posts exactly what I was thinking. And I'm like, well, shoot, like I ain't posted, so I can't be upset that somebody beat me to it. And also
Mm-hmm.
being creative. A lot of times people are super lazy now with type of content that they're doing. Now, when it's Lamar Jackson against Josh Allen in the playoffs, Monday morning, it's a layup. Just react to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's football's over. Going into All-Star weekend, all right, you got some college basketball, you got some March Madness and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, but really it's like now you're gonna see who's really creative and who just reacts to the games, because a lot of people, they can just react to the game and give a crazy take and get some views off that. But when it's a downtime in sports, kind of, and now you've got to really come up with great takes and great content that is separate and different from everybody else, that's where you separate yourself. So creativity could be in the type of content that you make, your niche. For me, it was okay. When I first started off, I was doing all sports, all topics. So essentially, I was acting like I was First Take. I
Mm-hmm.
gotta be real with myself. Why would somebody watch me talking about every single sport, everything, if they can go on ESPN that got
Mm-hmm.
high tech cameras? They got the switcher that goes to the ISO. Then they got the full screen of all the talent. They got the makeup bars. They got the whole setup. They posted on YouTube several clips. Why would they watch my 90-minute episode on everything that they're talking about if they can just go to ESPN? So it's like, okay, how can I
Mm-hmm.
make myself different? I got to just find my own niche. For me, that was, I'm from Philly. Growing up, I know how much people love Philly sports.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot, let me talk about my Sixers. Let me talk about my Eagles. Now, I'm still going to talk about all sports and branch off from that. But my base, my foundation is Philadelphia sports. So I think being consistent, being creative, those are the two keys to being successful in this space.
Now I'm gonna list off some names because I do agree with that. And I actually seen that during the summer when basketball was over. It was a lot of recycled content from different companies just giving their spin on different things. I seen a lot of top 25 century teams, top 10. I seen a lot of that happening. So I understand where you're coming from. But this stood out to me. I just want to list some names. Chris Paul, Giannis, Trey Young, Eric Spoelstra. How do you prepare yourself to interview these mega stars and talent? Like, what is your mindset going in? Like, are you thinking like, oh my god, that's Chris Paul, that's Chris Paul, that's Chris Paul? Like what are you thinking? Like, how do you prepare for that?
I'm happy you mentioned Chris Paul because when I interviewed Chris Paul, I stuttered. I stuttered
Mm,
bad. And I said, I'm Miles Johnson from Morehouse College. And Chris Paul looked dead at me, didn't blink, and shouted out Morehouse College. So he shouted out my college, gave great press for Morehouse. I stuttered. It did not matter at all. So I was shaking in my boots. I was super nervous. You got the Brian Windhorses of the world. You got the Dave McMenamins. You got, all these ESPN reporters, reporters from The Athletic, Sports Illustrated. Chris Paul pointed to me and asked me to answer the question or told me, hey, ask your question.
mm-hmm,
And I still stuttered and he still answered the question. So that was a great moment for me to say, if Chris Paul isn't looking at me sideways, I could care less if
mm-hmm,
somebody from high school is talking crazy, somebody from college talking crazy. Like that gave me all the confidence. Now I do believe there's so much preparation that goes into interviews, and these athletes or interviewing a coach, they know people that research, people that aren't researched. I saw during the Super Bowl, somebody asked Mike Vrabel, "Is this a must win?" I'm not a scientist. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but what I do know is I think the Super Bowl is a must
it's
win.
a must win. Come on, what kind of question is
So
that? That's lazy.
uh, that's something that it just comes with preparation, like just being prepared, overly prepared. And I love to really interview and see, okay, what about them separate from on the court, on the field? What about them that, just stands out? So I had Brandon Graham on the pod, Eagles legend in October, and interviewed him. My favorite moment of it was when I asked him, people called you a bust in Philly because he was drafted right before Ed Reed, I believe. And folks was saying, yeah, like they drafted Brandon Graham over Ed Reed, and they were calling Brandon Graham a bust. And so Brandon Graham, young guy, he's in his feelings. His wife tells him, why are you, moaning? Why are you crying? Why are you in your feelings? Do something about it. And so that was a moment that he shared that it not only showed where he was in his life, the fact that, all right, yeah, I'm this great athlete that came from Michigan and I got all the accolades. I'm in the NFL. I still got feelings like all of y'all too. Y'all talking crazy on the internet. I see all of that stuff. I gotta block some of y'all, but it happened to be my
Mhm.
wife. Happened to be my wife that helps me just get over that hump and challenge me to say, hey, like, what are you going to do about this? And so Brandon Graham telling that story was super cool. And like those type of stories I love because it's like you get to see more than just, okay, well, he had 2 sacks, three tackles for loss, or this one player had 30 points, 10 assists. Anybody can just do that. And they're going to have AI that's going to be doing game stories. But what
Mhm.
they can't do is highlight and show the human element and ask those questions that just humanize, all these athletes, right? So I think that's something that I look to do, especially when I'm interviewing different athletes. journalists, anybody in the space, definitely try to see like, okay, something deeper than just the superficial.
Is there an athlete right now that you would love to interview, and who would it be?
Without a question, Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna get that interview. I need that interview. It's gonna
Mhm.
happen for sure. But yeah, he's somebody we in the same fraternity. When he had his debut with the Eagles, I was singing his praises. I was like, he's gonna be a star. I was right about that. He is a star, undeniably Super Bowl MVP. Um, and yeah, that's probably my number one. And then I'm a big Allen Iverson fan too. I think that my line name for my frat is called The Answer. So
That's
I'm the
fire.
three. So it's like now
Mhm.
I gotta interview AI. So yeah, number one hurts. Two gotta be AI.
So if you had to pick somebody from sports media who you could sit down with and just like literally pick their brain, who would be that number one guy? Like you got to sit down and talk to him.
So I'll answer this in two folds. I think for social media, I would do Stephen A. Smith without a question. Polarizing guy. Folks either love him, they hate him, and the engagement's gonna be off the roof. Some stuff that he says I disagree with. However, you can never deny his talent and you never deny his work ethic, really. And so I would love to interview him there. Uh, Also, personally, I would love to interview Bill Simmons. I just think the way that he started off as the Boston sports guy and then from there started The Ringer, started his own platform. That's essentially like what I'm trying to do now. So I would let to pick his brain personally. It don't even got to be on social media. Just like, just how you were able to, build up your own platform to where a Spotify gives you 100 M's for it, and you're now
Mhm.
in your 50s and you just chilling, just
Woo.
podcasting, and I think you got to deal with Netflix now. So Netflix is now expanding their sports reach and all that stuff. So
Yeah, I seen that.
yeah, I think those two guys, Stephen A. Smith for social media, and then Bill Simmons personally.
So if you can sit across Stephen A, right? You got, because you got your own podcast, and Stephen A is like, I want to co-host with you for an episode. You sitting across Stephen A. What topic would you debate Stephen A on? This is very controversial right
Oh,
here.
I would easily do Braun over Jordan for sure. I'll do Braun
Mm-hmm.
over Jordan. So I got the new school, he's the old head. So playing off that dynamics, and then you're able to then Stephen A's gonna get the old crowd. That you got the young bulls gonna, rock with my take. I think with Bronze the goat. So that's something that I would love to have, and uh, I think it would be a pretty cool debate there.
So we do. I just want to make sure you said bronze the goat, right?
Yeah, Bron the goat. Here's the thing, like I respect Jordan. I can't have somebody as the GOAT that I've never watched. If I watch the guy, cool. I'm not talking about some YouTube highlights. I need to actually see the player at his highest height in his prime. I gotta see that. Highest height is in his prime. I never saw Jordan 96. I was born in 2001. 2001. Even when Braun had his debut against the Sacramento Kings, I was like 2 years old. So I didn't know. I didn't really recognize Braun until I was by like 6 or 7. So
Wow,
I
that's
think that
crazy. Got
yeah.
me
So
feeling
it's
old
like
out here, boy.
yeah,
That's
yeah. So like
crazy,
if
bro.
I ain't watched Jordan, like I could have him top two, top three. I have him top two. And yeah, I will say the last dance, maybe like, okay, he was
Yeah,
that
he was
guy.
tough.
He was that guy.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I gotta go with Bron. I feel like 2018 Bron, I'm 24 years old, was easily, not even a question, the best player I've ever seen.
So do you feel like this year Braun deserved the All-Star nod over Kawhi and all these guys?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, I don't really I understand if some folks are like, oh well, one player who's has more stats, played more games, deserves it over, or at least deserves to get in. But I'm not really trying to hear that LeBron James the person that has carried the league for the past 20 years, has the face of the league, that he doesn't deserve to be in the all. He could be averaging 8 points. The brother's like 41 averaging a dub. Like, he's gonna be in the All-Star game and he deserves that respect. Nobody was saying that with Kobe. Why are we going to try to switch it up with LeBron? So yeah, I think that it's right. They should, and it would be even worse if they didn't have him in the All-Star game. What if LeBron, I don't think he will, but if he retires and his last All-Star game was, 2020, 5, I mean, I just feel like, those legends, you gotta just keep him there. And also, it's
Yeah.
the fans want LeBron there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
folks be like trolling on like Twitter and like, oh, I don't want Bron. No, most fans, would love to see LeBron James in All-Star game. So no, I'm all for it. It makes sense.
Right. And you still have fans who still never seen him play live, like to this day. So just having him in the All-Star game, it's good for the product, it's good for the brand, and he's a legacy act. Like he's somebody you gotta just let, like, he has to be in it. Just to piggyback off you said, like you said Kobe, right? Kobe in his last year statistically didn't deserve it. Like he didn't deserve it, but he's a legacy act, so he's gonna get in there, right? And then, like again, I brought this up in another video when I said, Magic Johnson got voted in the All Star game. He wasn't even in the NBA at the time. Like he got in, like
Yeah, that's a
he
great
got
point.
in. Like so, dudes. I feel like when it comes to LeBron, there's just this whole stigma of like we gotta hate on him just because. Like we don't care what he do. He could break any record. LeBron could get 6 rings, and they will still say he not better than Mike.
The
They will
issue
still say.
is when folks are accustomed to greatness, they act accordingly, which is, sad. And I feel like, we all do it in like, a certain way where like if somebody consistently plays at a high level, you kind of get tired of it. So like Bron
Mhm.
at 41 years old, averaging 20 something points. Like, I don't care if the Lakers were last place, had the worst record in the NBA. He's 41 years old, averaging a dub.
Averaging a
Vince
dub.
Carter was averaging like what, like 6'5",
I think it
4
was six
points
point
at his
five.
age.
Yeah, 6.5, something like that.
And he was celebrated. And he was celebrated for even getting to the NBA, like, to be that age, to be that old. So, like, with LeBron, it's like we've seen him at 39 years old, average 20, 26, 27, 8 and
It's
8.
ridiculous.
And so like, when you see it so much, then you get tired of it. But like just because you've seen it so much doesn't mean that it's not still all-time great and something that will frankly may not ever see again in the NBA.
So speaking of All Star Game, right? Are you excited at all? Like I feel like it's not. It don't hit the same. You know what I'm saying? Like back in the day, All Star Games coming on, All Star Weekend. You had the dunk contest, 3 point. Everything was all the superstars were participating, and you got to see the best go at the best. Now it's kind of lackluster. Like where are you at with the All Star Game and the All Star Weekend festivities?
I used to love it. And used to, I remember the '09 All-Star game. And I just think to myself, like, I would be so happy coming back from school on Friday to watch all of the events. And I think some of them would be on like Friday, or at least the Rising Stars game would be on Friday. I would love to see that. I love to see when it was Kyrie versus Deion Waiters, or no, I know Kyrie broke Brandon Jennings' ankles, and then it was Deion Waiters against Tim Hardaway in the Rising Stars Challenge, probably like 2014 or something like
Mhm.
that. That was like they had hunger, like they actually wanted to not only put on a show for the fans, but also say, okay, you're gonna come at me, I'm gonna go right back at you. Like, shout out to Deion Waiters and Tim Hardaway. That was an amazing. And Kyrie he just took Brandon Jennings' ankles, and that was like a highlight reel for forever. But like they get to the dunk contest. And I'm thinking about when it was that 2016 season, and you had Zach
Woo!
LaVine versus Aaron Gordon.
Come on,
And they
man.
were doing
Legendary.
dunk at the dunk. Dunk was like, bro, like, how'd you even think of this stuff? And y'all doing it on the first try.
Mhm.
So I think it's now, it's now gotten to a point to where it's kind of like the the old heads look at the All-Star game as like back in our day, it was great. Back in
Mm-hmm.
our day, y'all showed passion. Nowadays, the young guys like they're like, I don't care what y'all old heads is saying. I just want to chill during All-Star weekend. I don't really
Yeah.
care. And so uh I don't like it, but unfortunately, like, they're not gonna change. I'm a huge VJ Edgecombe fan. He's like
Mm-hmm.
19 years old. I think he's one of the most athletic players in the NBA. They asked him, "Do you want to be in it?" He said, "No, I'm good." Like that's like a generation thing. That's just like it's kind of like the old heads are like telling you to like do something and you don't want to do it because the old heads. It's kind of like like your parents tell you, "Hey, like do something," and like because y'all so pressed on me doing that one thing, or like your teacher, your professor tells you to like do something, it's like, all right, I'm gonna do like the actual opposite because you're like so pressed on doing it. So like
Yeah,
I
I'm not gonna
get
do what you
it.
tell me to do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not about to do like, oh, y'all want me to do it so bad. All right, I'm not gonna do it. And so yeah, it sucks. I mean, when you got the lineup here, none of the guys that you like know for like the dunk contest. And then it's like
Bro,
I
I
don't know.
literally
I don't
only know Jackson Hayes, bro. I only know Jackson Hayes, bro.
Yeah,
I
and
know the
he's
other guys off of like stats, but like as dunkers, like
yeah.
who are these guys? No disrespect to them, but like who are these guys? Like
The past few seasons, I mean, the superstar of it was a guy who's in the G League, Mac McClung. He's not even in the
right.
game. He's not even in the league, and he was the guy. Now I get why a guy like him would do it because you can get a nice bonus, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can be trending on social media if you do well. So I think part of it is okay. The young guys, they want to just do the opposite of what the old guys are saying, but also it's like, do you really want to be embarrassed if you essentially miss a dunk or underperform? And with the way that Twitter and social media is, it's heightened to heights that it's never been to. I think all those play into a factor. And then the All-Star game itself, they show zero effort. And
Yo,
uh
zero effort. Oh
I don't
my god,
really
bro.
and I think like Adam Silver, he can try to make it a tournament or do something for somebody's charity and say if you win, it's for this charity. Da, da, da. He can do it all, but like at the end of the day, it's like if they don't want to do it, like then that's what it is. Like my dad always tell me, he's like, "Hey, I have three beautiful children that are very hardworking. My sisters are amazing." He's like, I feel like I was a good father, but if y'all didn't actually want to do it, want to be great, want to be hardworking, then it doesn't matter how hard I try to, discipline y'all, how hard I try to, just, be there for y'all, whatever. Like, it's got to be in you. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
with the players, it's like, it don't matter what Adam Silver does, it's got to be in y'all to play hard in an all-star game. And they're just simply not going to do it, which, like, sucks because when you have the summer league and the Drew League and all that stuff, like all season workouts, they go crazy, but it's an
Going
all-star
crazy.
game, they just want to chill. So I
So I'm a
think
big
that's
advocate
what
for
it
these
is.
two things. I want you to hear me out. This might be a hot take, but hear me out. So the way that the world is going now, right? Like social media influencers, everybody has their hands in everything, right? So now there's this huge craze going on with the YouTube ballers, right? They got the one-on-one leagues going on and all this stuff. I'm a huge advocate for this. I for All-Star Weekend, they should do this is just an idea. I got two ideas. The first one they should do is they should take all of those YouTube hoopers, all of the one-on-one guys that's like they got clout, they got fame, and dump them in the 1v1s against G Leaguers and new players. The first year players, second year players versus these guys.
Mm.
And let them all just go at it in a one-on-one. That would be fire. Everybody's getting exposure. Some people's getting exposed. It will be so good for the sport of basketball in general. Like, can you imagine like, a Friga or all of these dudes that play one on one just going against like these first year guys, right? So a guy going against Bronny from YouTube, like that would be huge. That would just blow up social media and everything. And my second take, because I'm a huge fan of the WNBA. I would love to see the WNBA get a team together and throw them in that tournament that they playing for the All-Star game.
Mm.
Guys versus girls. I know guys is like, oh, they're not strong enough, they're not fast enough. But brother, they are more skilled than 90% of the NBA, bro. They would probably cook. I'm telling you, they would probably cook. What you think about that? I think that's dope.
I think like I definitely feel like it really comes down to a pride thing. Like, it comes down to a pride thing because as much as I love the WNBA, like if the NBA players play their hardest, like they should win. Now it's kind of like a lose-lose for them because it's like, and do some of them want to do it because it's like, all right, if you win, folks is gonna be saying, well, you were supposed to win. Like whether it's right or wrong, whatever you were supposed to win. If you lose, you gotta get in clown. So I don't see too much upside in the men like agreeing to it. But it would be super entertaining. I would love to see like one-on-ones. Like if it was like Caitlin Clark versus like, I know they were like compare her to Peyton Pritchard or something like that. So if they had like Caitlin Clark versus like Peyton Pritchard, I would love that 1v1s. Or if they just had like
be tough.
That would be great. That'd be great. Like 1v, like I'm trying to think like I was Kaylin,
Tyrese Halliburton, Breonna Stewart, like you know what I'm saying? Kelsey Plum, Steph Curry, like that.
Rakia Jackson, like you got some stars there. Paige Becker's like, oh no, she got a bag. She got a bag. Was it Kelsey Mitchell on the Fever? Like talk about Kaylin, like she got a jumper too off the dribble as well. So now I think like a 1v1, like I could see that. Like I would love for them to like do that. I think they would actually show more heart.
Yeah, more pride for sure. More pride for sure. Because 1v1 is the essence of basketball. When you're growing up, you're not starting out playing fives. You starting out playing 1v1. Like, yo, like play me in basketball, bro. Like, I'll cook you, bro. You know, that's how you really start.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a dope idea. We should petition for that, brother. We should start promoting that. Yeah. I'm with you on that. We should start promoting that.
That would be nice.
So, you mentioned that you're a huge Philadelphia fan, right? You love Philly. So I got a little game I want to play. It's a game called Start 'em or Bench 'em, and we getting ready to play around. All right, so the game is simple. I'm going to give you 2 players from the Philadelphia 76ers pipeline, old school, new school. We're going to put them together, and you're going to choose who you're going to start and who you're going to bench. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready. Let's get it.
All right, so my first matchup is a controversial one because I put this on the channel and people were like, what? You're bugging. So I'm going Allen Iverson versus Tyrese Maxey. Who you starting and who you benching?
AI starting, Maxey getting benched. Sorry, Maxey.
Okay. We got Joel Embiid and Moses Malone. Ooh, tough. That's tough. Ooh.
It's tough because Moses Malone, easily not even a question, has the longevity. I think if you're just talking about peak for peak, this guy at his ultimate superpowers, I believe Embiid has the edge. But I feel like the gap between longevity is way bigger than the peak gap. So I'll slightly give it to Moses Malone.
Okay. Julius Erving or Sir Charles Barkley?
Oh, Dr. J. Dr. J start. Yeah, sorry, Chuck. I know that you be in the suburbs of Philly. You know, you got a house there, and I got to bench you, Chuck.
He's like, nope, I got to bench you. And last one, we're going to go Andre Iguodala or Lou Williams.
Andre Iguodala. Now, I do think that Lou Will, one of the best 6-man of all time, but Iggy for Philly, he was better. I'll start him.
Yeah, he did. He was better overall for the team, especially defensively as well. He was better. So like, just to wrap things up, like, what's next for you, bro? Like, you've done amazing things. I've been watching. as a student, and like, what is next for you in your show? Like, what's the goal?
Really, the goal is just to keep being consistent, keep being creative. I want to continue building up these partnerships. I think that for a large time it was just creating content, which I love to do. And then it's like, okay, let's start to monetize. Let's start to really make this like the full time thing. Fortunate enough that it does make more than my corporate job, but being able to like completely separate from the corporate job is something that I'm like striving for long term. But I think just continuing to talk about all sports, talk about NBA, and I grew up playing soccer, so you got the World Cup this summer. I feel like part of my job around this time talk about some soccer so that if these brands want to partner around the World Cup time, now
Mm-hmm.
I got some capital where months leading up to the game, leading up to the tournament, I got some soccer content. I know that there's definitely like, a niche there that I can definitely break into. So just want to be consistent and keep my foot on the gas in that aspect, bro. But I appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Bro, man, we've been planning this for months. I'm happy we finally did it. You got the camera all to yourself. I'm gonna put you on. I just want you to say something influential to the young podcaster that's coming up. Like, just give us some advice. Like, what
Yeah.
should we do to like really build our brand and build our content up, stuff like that? It's on you, baby.
I think like it's so important to not get discouraged by what other folks are doing. When I first started my podcast in 2020, July 20th, 2020, I literally would get 5 likes per post for the first 8 months. But I wasn't doing it for the likes or the money. I just love to talk about it. So if it was me listening to my podcast, my brother, my one of my friends, if it was 5 people, that's cool. And if you think about it too, no, I'm grateful that like now when I'm in Philly, other places, I'm being able to like be recognized by like certain people, and they'll like know my content as the Eagles guy or like the Sixers guy, whatever the case may be. And it warms my heart that I'm at the gym, 4 guys come up to me. So think about it. 5 likes. Think about what if those 5 likes come up to you and say, I love your content. So I think a lot of times we get infatuated by the 30K likes, or somebody got 100K views. And sometimes we alter our content, and it's always this balance of reputation, engagement. Oh, I can talk about, oh, yeah, I'm picking Caitlin Clark over Angel Reese. Angel Reese is trash. I can say that and get 100K views, but my reputation's shot. So it's like, what do you do to keep your reputation, but also keep that engagement? That's something that only you can, be the judge for yourself. So I think that learn from my story, all I did was be consistent, not get discouraged. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say I'm near where I want to be like in this space. It's a lot of things that I want to accomplish. Yes, I want to have all of that, but I think it's so important to not get discouraged by what other people are doing. I'm a big believer in God's plan for you. God's timing is always right timing. So continue to keep the faith and be consistent, and have that hard work, and in due time it's going to show.
Man, Miles, brother, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. Guys, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and give this video a thumbs up. Thank you for tuning in for 10 a.m. shift. I'm Willis Love. That's my man MJ. We out of here, baby. We out of here.